Well, they can sneak in the back.
Hopefully I didn't send that in an email.
No, it's their fault. And I yelled at them.
Oh, no.
Because they left my office and I saw them and I go, I'll be with you in a minute, guys. And they just kept walking.
All right, welcome everyone. This is the City of Westminster Historic District Commission. We're here Wednesday, October 2nd at 6 p.m. City Hall. We're on Emerald Hill Lane. And I like to start the evening with a roll call and the statement of authority for what we have here. So I'm going to start with the Westminster Historic District Commission derives its authority from Chapter 164, Article 9A of the City Code, which is authorized by the Maryland Code Annotated Land Use Article Division 1, Single Jurisdiction Planning and Zoning, Title 8, Historic Preservation. The qualifications of the Westminster Historic District Commission are on file at the City Administration Building at 45 West Main Street, and the file is open to the public. Let's start with our roll call with Kevin.
Kevin Wagman.
Kathy Beatty. Chris McMaster's chair. Grace Kelly Rowland.
Chris Amadori.
And she's vice chair. All right, well, we're going to begin with new business, item A, 56 West Main Street. And I always like to ask the planning staff if they would like to introduce this project.
Sure, I'm happy to. Thank you, Chair. So tonight we're talking about a building at 56 West Main Street. This was a project that was approached to us back in June for this specific part of the project. Joyce Strom, the owner and principal designer with Strom Interior Studio, established contact with us regarding review of proposed exterior updates to the existing commercial building at 56 West Main Street. The city followed up with information on the Historic District Tax Credit Program and asked for some clarifying questions in August. We did receive a letter from Mr. Clark Schaefer dated August 13, 2024. It is attachment 1. And then the applicant was requesting a delay from the September Historic District Commission meeting, which it was originally scheduled, to tonight's October meeting date. We can share the primary structure was built in 1920. It is in our central business zone. It is currently housed by Cummings & Co. Realtors. And there is no Maryland car number on file for this property. Come on in. Hi.
It's my fault.
That's okay. So we are here tonight requesting a review from the commission regarding section 164-51.4A. An analysis requesting for the commission, and we're recommending that you provide a recommendation. And again, tonight we have the applicant here and representatives. Welcome.
And who's the owner?
Dave Cummings. It's an LLC, but that's him.
Great, welcome, Mr. Cummings.
Thank you. Sorry for the delay. I went to the wrong building.
Okay.
My fault. Sorry.
All right, so this is not for a tax credit, or it is?
It is not a tax credit request.
Okay, great. So from what I can gather from the request, it is painting and lights, new lights, okay. And I just want to clarify that you are planning on painting on brick. So have you been advised as to the long-term maintenance issues with painting on brick? Because brick breathes and paint pops, and it's a forever issue. And to get that paint off, there's, a lot of really difficult stuff you have to do. You can't just pressure wash it off.
Yeah.
If you change your mind in a few years that it's too much maintenance every 7 to 10 years, you're in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I own other buildings that I painted, so I'm well aware, and I've owned them for over decades.
And this was in the fire district, so it was probably rebuilt in the 1885. So it's a softer brick. It'll pop faster than today's brick.
yes.
Okay, I just wanted you to be aware of that.
I will take care of it.
Okay, well, it's sort of buying a long-term headache, but it's up to you.
Yeah,
You can,
I find the long-term value in this for my business, so, yeah, and every time I see it going, that's chipping, flaking paint, it just irks me. OCD.
yeah,
Why do you think painting it is better for your business?
I think it will give it like a nicer, fresher look. I think it just looks tired. Building has windows that have been covered over, so it's like 4 different types of brick on it already. And it just looks old and tired, and like, my business I've had for 18 years. I own 6 other buildings. And my whole business plan is basically taking real estate, building beautiful offices to attract the realtors to work for me. And I feel like the building looks sort of old and tired, and giving it a nice fresh paint job and fresh pop. But what I've done to the inside will make the building sense. That'll help attract more realtors to my business, which will attract more clients to work with them. And yeah, I mean, I like take big care in my properties. Well, 11 other locations, of 6 of which I own. So it's not my first rodeo doing this. Yeah.
and you know, it's true, we normally don't regulate paint and don't tell people how to paint. There's a mural thing, you can't do murals, but you're in a historic district, so it's gonna look old. That's just, you know, the nature of everybody around you, and it is the nature of what we're keeping, but that's something we usually don't say what color. We don't have a Williamsburg palette that you have to paint. All right, so I just wanted to make sure you were well aware of the long-term.
Yes, I mean, I own the building, you know, I put a lot of money into purchasing it and renovating it, and I'm going to maintain it as I do with all my other ones, because then if it doesn't look good, why, you know, it's not gonna attract the business.
Right, in 10 years, it's gonna look old
Yeah,
and
it's
tired.
not like I'm not like a landlord that's just like putting renters in there. And then like, I don't wanna spend any money because I just wanna get the rental income, like the focus of owning the building is the business on the first floor. Yeah,
It's just the older brick pops that paint a little quicker.
Sure,
And it can be a great disappointment, and once you've got it up, taking it down is so much harder.
yeah, I mean, I have full-time, you know, people on staff that just do all the maintenance on everything, so it's like, it's not like I have to, all I'm paying for is the material to repaint. You know, I've already repainted my office in Canton on Boston Street, which
James,
is
it cost
50-yard line Canton. I painted that twice in the last probably 15 years, just because I feel like all the car dust or whatever has just dulled it down, and I just like, you know, to my guys, when we get a slow point, you know, when the weather breaks, warms up, paint the front of Canton office.
Good, well, you're walking in with your eyes open, and that's my only big concern. Do we have any other questions from any other commissioners? Does this talk about mortar at all? No, this is not one of the mortar projects. Okay. All right, so if there are no other questions, no recommendations?
Oh, I do have a question. So are you gonna, this sign here, are you gonna keep that sign, Cummings sign?
Across the front?
Yeah.
Yes, I got
And is
that,
that gonna be in blue still?
that's, yeah, I mean, I got a permit for that sign, and that sign is the permanent sign, yes.
Any other questions from our commissioners?
Can I just make a point? Dave, did you talk to John Yingling about whether he had concerns about it?
Spoke with him, yes,
Yeah, he did. What did he say?
he was okay.
All right, well, hearing no other questions or concerns, I would like to entertain a motion that we accept this information, and we're don't have any questions, concerns, or codicils.
I make the motion, we accept.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Maybe some little background as to why it's here is important. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry, so anytime there's an architectural elevation change, even if it's painting change, for site plans, we've been taking them to the Planning and Zoning Commission for them to say yes or no to that paint design, to that change in elevation. We're treating this as we do everything else, and so this will go to the Planning Commission for final approval. But this is where it falls kind of a little bit out of what you typically do, where again, we're looking for a recommendation from the HDC to get to the planning commission, whether you believe this, the color, the painting, everything else is appropriate and to guide, so really looking for you to guide the planning commission for this project, for that reason. So that's why it's a little bit before you. There are the, design guidelines that HTC has for rehabilitation of downtown, plus the design preference manual. So that's, again, we didn't cover that. I just want to kind of, and again, we're trying to bring these projects to the HTC to provide their expertise and recommendation to other entities. In this case, it would need to be reviewed and approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I would really appreciate that background, and I think it's a wise idea, and I'm glad to speak to the owner just to make sure they understand kind of what they're buying. But as far as other recommendations, I think we're okay. And I really appreciate it. We have a motion on the floor to basically accept the presentation with no comment.
Mr. Chair,
Wait, we need a second and we can start talking. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
well, his motion was to approve, which is what we're asking for.
Sure.
Okay, and if that's the motion on the floor, then that's what we're looking for.
Everybody is agreed? Questions from the commissioners?
Since I'm still new at this, does the city actually have a policy about the painting of historic brick buildings within the city, or it can just do whatever they want?
They can do whatever they want. And it is ultimately reversible. It is ultimately reversible. It's highly expensive to reverse it. Really difficult. But it is a reversible application.
So then there really are not sort of design guidelines within the historic district.
Not that prescribe actual painting and color painting or anything like that. We have design guidelines, but they're not that prescriptive.
Yeah, we don't do anything with color.
I'd also like to point out that the front facade of the building that faces Main Street, which is brick, is not historic. It was added when the building was converted from J.C. Penney to the office building that it is. The Historic District Commission at that time approved the addition of that brick veneer on the front. So
Is that the only face that's going to be painted, or are they gonna paint all around?
no, the whole building is going to be painted.
In addition, the side windows were placed on there. They were not there before.
The side windows and the entrance facing the side. Those were all additions that were made.
And there are certain portions of the brick that have obviously they're different. I don't know.
They've been patched.
Yeah, that's my architectural vocabulary. They're different because they've been patched.
So that's almost good news, because that means the front probably has newer, harder brick that will take the paint a little better and hold it a little longer. You can get like 2 to 5 more years out of that paint job, so it's good news for you. All right, being anything else? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor? I hear a consensus and positive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Your patience.
We would do your minutes will this be in the minutes of your meeting?
Absolutely.
And there'll be a thing called a certificate of approval or something.
No, so again, this is just a recommendation.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It just got approved by the Historic District Commission under 164-51.7. You can characterize it any way you want, but you required us to come here. We didn't want to, like you guys, but we didn't want to come because we didn't think we had to, because we didn't think this affected the historic significance. And Dean was going to put on, and Joy was going to describe why these made some sense. But we appreciate your action. And now that we've got your approval under that section, we will proceed to go ahead and do our work. We've already been through a site plan process, which frankly, we didn't think we needed to go through. But that's a bone for another dog. But all he did,
Dog cost me a lot of money.
all he did was buy a building and then do interior renovations to it. That should not have been subject to site plan, but it was because Mr. Depot said it was. And it went through that process.
On this side, quite
To
a
be
bit.
correct,
on
that
this side.
Mr. Depot did not say it, the zoning ordinance is quite clear. That a site plan is necessary, so I disagree, and it's quite clear, it's black and white.
Oh, really?
Any, yes, look at the site plan section.
I did.
Any new change and it requires site plan compliant with the site plan, we did not have a site plan for this property.
We got an approved site plan for the property.
Now.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you did not have a site plan for the property,
Here's the applicability section for site plans.
we wanted to be here.
The provisions of this article shall apply to any new, expanded, or remodeled use within all zones. New, expanded, or remodeled use. All we did was buy a building and do interior improvements. We didn't even have what's called a change of use. The trigger for site plan that is if you change the use from, for instance, office to a beauty salon or something like that, that's a change of use. This is office to office. And I looked at the building permit application, which you denied until they went through site plan. And the building permit was for interior remodeling. The other thing that triggers site plan is if you disturb ground outside, you're gonna put in some new parking in. You're gonna have to add some stormwater management. That kicks you into the environmental reviews and site plan. When you just bought it, just think of it this way, if you bought a building in Westminster, an office building, and went in and repainted it and, maybe put some new carpet on the stairs and then you're gonna put your office there. You don't have to go through site plan, nor should you. Nor should you have to go through site plan.
And again, Clark is not the zoning administrator and it's completely incorrect, so.
I just read you the section, Mark.
Like, no, you read sections and portions of the section that you deem relevant, you don't read the entire section. And that's
Well,
always been the problem.
Thank you for your consideration. We appreciate the approval and appreciate that.
And we remain available to you for advisory purposes. If something comes along that you would like to have some input from us, we stand ready as advisory.
Good.
So we're happy to help you out at any point.
Thank you very much.
Sure. And we can go on to an accelerated schedule if there's an emergency. Like, something happens and all of a sudden a wall has to go or something real different happens. We can have an accelerated meeting as long as we meet the agenda needs of the city to post it for the public.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your all help.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. Okay, next, we move along to a pre-construction application for the facade improvement for F1 2401 at 60 West Main Street. And would staff like to introduce this project for us?
Sure, I'm trying to bring up our presentation just so you can see the building and the public can see the building. So it's tuning in, so give me just a second.
I have to thank city staff for providing the CARR numbers for us. It just makes review of this so much easier when I can call it up instantly. I almost wish that was something on the application, but as long as you're catching it and we're getting that info, that's great. And hopefully you're sharing that info with the applicants so they get that historic summary as well that you might not have had coming into this process.
I'm not sure that I have, to be honest, but let's dive in. I'm always working on improvement. So now we do have a new template. I believe this is the first facade improvement application I've taken. So this is an interesting one. We're taking essentially 2 applications for this building all at once and 1 staff report. So section 1, we're focusing on our property tax credits, and then section 2 will be the facade. So we have our owner here tonight, Ben Chanat. and Representative Alex. And we're talking about.
Ben, I'm sorry, you're the owner.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
good to know. I always talk to the owners.
Oh,
They
okay.
can get rid of any other consultants at any moment.
He helps me with a lot of stuff. He is one of my staff members. He helped me prepare all the documents and
As
stuff.
long as he's not family, you can't get rid of family.
Oh,
All right, I'm sorry.
There's a
Melissa.
lot going on tonight.
I just
Okay.
derailed you, I'm so
That's
sorry.
okay. So we'll give some background. We've been talking to this property regarding the tax credit since June 14th, later revised application September of this month. And they submitted an application for the replacement of, sorry guys. Here we go. For the replacement of 8 double hung windows and the repointing of the entire frontage of the building. So we have here on the screen, you can see the building here. We're really just talking about the top. So there are 6 on the front and then 2 on the back for this building. The applicant has shared that 60 West Main Street was built over 100 years ago. And in the past, someone replaced the windows with white vinyl residential windows. And they do not match the appearance of the historic building. The window replacement will help replicate the appearance of the building to its original charm. Over time, weathering and decay has caused voids in the brick joints, allowing water to enter, and repointing the bricks will extend the life of the building and renew its historic appearance. You can see where we're looking, just a few addresses down from the previous building. And they received 2 quotes for each scope that they're doing. So we have a quote from Chimney Sweep, we have Build Good. All of the quotes have been checked for license numbers. Reasonable Solutions and the winning company have offered window replacement quotes. And also the applicant has expressed the ability to choose another independent subcontractor that he works with, separate from these estimates. So tonight, we're asking a recommendation for the commission to review the provided pre-construction application for historic rehabilitation property tax credits and determine whether the property is an eligible property and if the proposed work as outlined in attachment 1 qualifies as eligible work. And if the commission determines the property is an eligible property and the proposed work qualifies as eligible work under section 143-5B, then our department recommends that the commission determine whether the estimated project cost of $23,664,000, which is of the highest quotes added, or $17,053, the lowest quotes, or another amount as determined by the commission, is accurate and acceptable to approve and grant the certificate of eligibility for a historic tax credit in the amount of 10% of the total final cost, or not greater than $2,366.40 as determined by the commission. And if there are any questions, we have our applicant here tonight. I think maybe we'll just take section 1 first, and then we'll approach section 2.
I actually do have a couple of questions I would like to ask. And the section 1 is mortar, right?
believe it.
Yep, brick and mortar.
Brick and mortar. So, according to the historic record, we see this building is being built around 1883 because there was a big fire then.
Okay.
And it was put up pretty quickly, okay? And so to me, that says that brick is gonna be a little bit semi-soft. It's not gonna be as soft as old brick. But the mortar won't have that Portland cement in it that it does at the turn of the century.
That's correct.
And the mortar that you selected, the S grade, has that hardened material in it.
Okay,
It's a little inappropriate for softer bricks.
I see. It's called salmon bricks, the brick that we have on the building, which means it's very soft and it permeates a lot of stuff. So let's say that if you put some chemicals into it, it will absorb so quickly. And during summertime or when the weather changes, it comes right out. So I know a little bit about brick. But the mortar part of it, I did not know that there was some other, if you recommend a different type of mortar, I'm more than happy to. The only concern I have is I wanna keep almond or ivory color mortar because that's what the original color was. So if you look at the mortar right now, it's horsehair, that's what it has in it, horsehair and some other materials. So I wanna keep very similar to what they have originally intended. So thank you for making that as, I had no idea about that.
Let me go off on my brick thing.
Oh, sure.
Because it also goes to the next project as well, so it's gonna take a lot of time. But I always look at bricks as like little loaves of bread,
Yes.
right? If you have a loaf of bread, take a faucet, put the bread under water real quick. It sheds off the water, doesn't ruin the bread inside. It may take a little while for the outside of the bread to dry off, but in a couple days, you can slice that bread up and it's still soft inside, okay? So there's a rind on your bread, it's been baked in and it repels, okay? And same thing is true with bricks, they have a rind on the outside. But if you sandblast it, you sandblast off that rind and expose the softer material inside. So if you think the exterior is soft, you should wait till you penetrate it and get onto the interior. Bricks in a historic building actually wick up moisture. Okay, and that moisture wants to get out of your building. It comes from the surrounding ground, it may come from the basement, it wicks up through the brick and through the mortar. And historically soft brick meets historically soft mortar. Or what happens is as it freezes in the wintertime, that mortar holds that moisture and can actually spald off the brick. The mortar, if it's stronger than the brick, can break the brick over time. And so with movement, which is minor in buildings, and with the breathing of the buildings, that mortar could be too rough on your brick and literally over time ruin it. And we have a couple spots in town where I can show you that the failure isn't with the cement mortar, the failure is because the brick is now punching off of it in ever so slightly amounts year after year after year. Historic bricks and historic structures need to breathe. And the water repellent you're suggesting is not considered recommended for historic structures, and here's why. You're sealing one surface out of 6. And what you're doing is sealing in the interior moisture. So there is a house here in town that has that sealant on it. It's sealed in the moisture and it got a mold bloom behind it. And the sealant literally penetrates in the brick, which is great, but if you have water in your basement, it can't get out. It blooms inside with mold and it blooms outside beneath that sealant. And there's really no good way to get it off once you put it on. It is not considered a best practice.
Okay.
So your building wants to breathe, and if you put a plastic bag on your building, and frankly, if you paint it, you're smothering the ability of your building to dry out. And this is unique to old buildings. As you get newer and newer brick, harder and harder brick and harder mortar, it still breathes. It still wicks up moisture from the ground,
So
but it's slower.
are you making recommendation that we use a different type of mortar, right?
I would recommend you use a double O mortar. Okay, that's a softer mortar,
Okay.
but it still can take the color that you customize to it. Remember that it takes sometimes years for mortar to fade to the color that you have. So for a couple of years, that mortar's gonna look lighter than your actual color. You can do mortar analysis to exactly match it. Or you can do like most people and kind of eye and say, oh, I'm gonna do a step or two lighter and wait for it to darken to match the rest of the mortar. And I would also recommend you are careful when you remove the old failing mortar. We say hand rake. Unless it's really clear that there's mortar on there that's harder than your brick, and then sometimes a saw cut is actually kinder to your brick. But you need to talk to somebody who's really good at historic masonry work.
Yeah, one of the individuals that I deal with, he restores building in Washington DC.
Mhm.
You're talking about the buildings that are built with limestone,
Mhm.
historic buildings in Washington, that's what he works with. So he's really good with, he knows, I learned a lot from him. I mean, I've known him for over 20 years and he'd done some work for me in Baltimore City on some of the buildings that I used to own.
So the thing about hand raking is that there's a far less chance of breaking the rind on that brick by hand raking. If you bring a saw out to cut your mortar, depending on your skilled workman,
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hand rake the whole thing, that may be too much, I don't know if he does that, I need to check with them.
well, and it depends on your building specifically, and it depends on your failure spots.
Right.
There may be some failure spots that are poorly repaired with Portland cement, and that some saw cutting might be necessary. But it's the difference between getting sort of a Kmart group in and a Tiffany's group in. You know, the Tiffany guys can sometimes use a saw cut and know better than to nick up your rind on your brick. But the Kmart guys will have no clue, they'll be, you know, sawing away. And so what we usually recommend for projects we support is hand raking. And if it can't be done, come to us
Okay,
so we can.
my guy is like a Macy's guy, so.
Is that, well, you know, the whole key is, when you tell him we recommend the double O mortar, he'll know we're kind of serious.
Right.
But the fact that we're not requiring you to perfectly match the mortar, he'll know we're probably Macy's and not Tiffany's.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're trying to be of assistance to you because
Yes.
frankly, a bad mortar job, water sealant, and you know, using a saw blade like you're a crazy person,
Mm,
it all does damage that, you know, you're gonna rue someday. And if, you know, if you sell the building to some poor schmuck down the road who doesn't really know,
right,
they're buying something that's a disaster.
that's true.
And so, you know, we don't wanna participate in disasters. We would much rather participate in extending the life of that historic structure. That's my brick lecture for the night.
Thank you, appreciate that.
I hope it's helpful because honestly, you've put a lot of money, I'm sure, into a Main
Yes.
Street property.
Yes,
And I'm sure you don't wanna do anything to make it long-term more miserable, right?
that's true.
But keeping the water out of that building is important. Redoing the mortar is important. It's just you wanna if you can pick right now, I don't know that there's much price difference even between an S and a double O.
Oh, I'm not even worried about that, I didn't even know about this, that you were
Why we're
talking
here
about.
to help you.
Thank you, that's
Is why
definitely
we're
helps.
here. All right, so those are my brick concerns. Also, you know, the windows have been mucked up already, you can kind of tell that. Are you gonna what's the replacement window gonna look like? Is it gonna be custom?
It's gonna have to be custom because it's not the same, you can hardly find those type of windows. So most likely, I think what we recommended is dark brown color window that is that looks very similar to the original windows. It is so expensive to custom build wood windows. We checked into that and that's what my heart wants to do. But I don't have
That's
the
what our
money
hearts
for it.
want you to do too, by the way.
Yeah, I don't have the money for it.
So, yeah, when you're looking at the picture from the NIHP report, they were 4/4 windows, is that what you're gonna do?
I'm sorry.
If you look at the historic picture,
They didn't do that.
oh, we didn't get that.
Oh, no.
Melissa kept that secret.
It's a 4/4 window, is that what we're planning to do?
It is what windows, I'm sorry.
It's got the 4 panes.
Oh, 4 paints, yes, if I can see that, we can definitely try to replicate that.
Yeah, and you can go online and download this.
Oh, really, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't really get into all that, my main goal is, when you look at the building, it doesn't look big.
It's not
yeah, it's a 4 panes with the 2/2.
This was mine.
No,
Friday.
I'll give it to you, oh, okay, I'll give it back to you. So I'm not-
You can submit 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you have just taken a different
Yeah,
angle.
they're all the 4 panes, 2/2.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I see, yeah, no.
And that wasn't that long ago. When
Oh,
you think
it
about
looks like
it,
this was in the sixties or seventies.
You know,
They
but-
are right in front of it.
Yeah.
You're right, that doesn't seem that long ago to me on a
Right.
historic scale. You know, that building wasn't even 100 years old when they chose to replace
But
it.
simply going with the 2/2 is.
Oh, yeah, this looks really good. I had an option to replace the front windows with doors. No, the front doors downstairs, and I said we never replace that. So every 2 years, we end up restoring it because the sun hits it so hard.
Yeah.
It's
But it looks like all the windows are a consistent
yes,
2/2, so
Yeah.
that'll make a huge difference in the look of your
yeah,
building.
this is the first time I'm looking at it. Thank
Yeah.
you for
And you can,
thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
So
You
is that
finally
black
coming
or
through.
brown?
It's right now it is white, but
Right, so I
I'm-
meant on here, I wonder if
oh, it's a black
What's,
and
what
white.
is what?
That's
I
black
think
and
there
white.
was, it looks like they're white.
I don't know. I don't know if they are.
I have no idea.
No, that's not the window, that's the building. Are you going to, the window to the far right, there's a shutter missing or?
Yes.
We have that, we have to repair.
Okay, I'm just curious.
There was a storm and came down, thank God it didn't hit anybody, and I have it saved in the back. So we just need to bring it back and put that back on.
So have you decided what kind of window did you say, a mix of wood and vinyl, or is we're going straight with vinyl?
We're going straight with a different color that would look very similar to a darker color that will blend with the building rather than stick out like a sort of, when you have a white window. I have an option to paint this thing, but I just don't wanna do that, it won't look good. So if you replace the windows with the brown, dark brown, like the brown of the symbol of Westminster, I think that would give it an original look, I would love to find some old wood windows from maybe Second Chance, a place in Baltimore City. But the problem is, it would be very difficult to find matching 6 windows. But if I can find that, that's the first thing I would do, before.
That would be great, but
Yeah, so finding them to fit those openings.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Slim.
exactly.
I hate to say it, my home was built slightly before these buildings. And even windows that look the same are like a half inch off, because they were sort of built in place.
Right. It's so sad that somebody put that on there, at least they haven't done that.
Well, and the worst thing is people just assume they're energy efficient because they're on TV, and they're really not. If you do an energy efficiency match with wood windows, they're much more efficient.
Yeah,
So,
And will these have storm windows?
no,
You might think about, there are a lot of nice interior storm windows now that won't affect the outward appearance, that can really
oh, really?
up your energy efficiency.
I'm more looking for the look and feel of the building
Right.
than anything else. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could have done, some other kind of stuff that can save energy, but
Yeah.
for these buildings, I
Yeah.
love old buildings,
Yeah.
great
You
buildings.
fit to our ear. Yes.
But yeah, I think if you can match the design of the old ones, the 2/2, that'll make a huge difference in
it'd be a
building.
great improvement,
Mhm.
great improvement. All right, so do our other commissioners have any other questions of this particular application, Kevin? Huh? Kathy?
No, I do not.
Okay, great.
That was my question with the color.
No. So, I think we should make these requirements, Melissa. Is the reconsideration and removal of the water repellent.
Water repellent, what was that?
Okay, so I don't actually think we recommended that to that company, I think that's just something they added into the report by themselves, unfortunately.
Take it out, just save you some money.
Okay,
We're costing you money, this one should save you some money.
So
Please,
they were
please.
asking us
Don't get
to
in
see
there.
the building.
It was the chimney.
They're always gonna
Oh,
tell you a lot.
yeah, I'm sorry.
They're uppricing it.
They're always gonna wanna add stuff.
on,
Chimney.
Yeah, we never recommend.
Water repellent, there is a.
We just saved you some money right there.
thank
Okay.
you.
And also we would be asking for a no grind approach. And then if it becomes unwieldy, a mason with historic background says to us, this is not working, then we have the ability to change our mind on that requirement. And we all live here in town, like, you know, I'm a phone call away, I frequently drive by. I caught somebody, we said, hand rake, and called Mark and said they're not hand raking. And so I will check you just because I'm that way.
Hand raking is something, I don't know if that's gonna be feasible for this large area. The individual who might most likely do the work, I've known him for 20 years, he does work on historic buildings in Washington DC, monuments and stuff like that. So he had been doing this for over 2 decades, and he has some really, really good workers who comes and work from West Virginia. He lives in Baltimore, and he's a good mason.
Well, let's start out on a good foot and say, we'll try.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
We'll try. And I'm more than happy, I always wanna talk to a good mason. I'm happy to come by, you know, if in the first couple of hours, this is crazy, I'll stop by and I'll say, okay.
Yeah, I can definitely bring him over here if you need to, and you can talk to him.
Well, see, he won't know till he gets started, to be
Right.
honest.
Right.
Till he starts banging away on that mortar, he won't really know.
Well, the odds are that different areas have been patched at different times with, somebody did go to Lowe's and buy a bag of Portland cement,
Right.
throw some in, so it's not going to be consistent over the whole front of the building.
It seems like at this point in time, the whole brick was painted.
It was, yeah. Which, if you're having moisture problems, they probably sandblasted the paint off, and that is why you're gonna have long-term problems. And that may be why that company was recommending waterproofing, but I know at this point, the Maryland Historical Trust has not approved any waterproofing.
Well, it
There's a bunch of
penetrates so
them out there.
deeply and it's not reversible. And that's the thing, you only wanna treat a building with something that is reversible.
And it can cause discoloration of the brick when you put it in there, it'll darken those bricks.
Right, and then secondly, Melissa, I think we would ask for the double O mortar. And then, request but not require the 2/2 window style. Request but not require.
This means the shutter on 2 pieces, right, front and back.
2 pane, 2 pane. So it's 4 panes in 1 window. And we'll stay silent about the color. Personally, I'm still hoping you go with white, but we'll stay silent on that color. I just think the dark looks just too modern, but
For the window,
That's,
I think they were retweeted.
yeah, but the white, I think, just screams fine, yeah,
you know, it does scream vinyl.
yeah, I think it.
The other ones below
are.
I don't think we're looking for black though, I think we're looking just for like a darker brown,
Yeah.
maybe close to the shutter color than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, the white just says like, I'm here.
Yeah.
So you can throw in a shutter repair to this project if you want.
It is added as like an extra, if there's extra funds.
Where? Who's the bid?
is that the ones that you sent to me at this last email?
I have that here, it's
Chimney folks say uninstall window shutters, but they don't say install.
I'm talking about on the facade, like the facade application. It asks, in conjunction with this project, are you completing any other renovations work to the property? I put yes, and I said repaint shutters on the front of the building if there is extra funding.
Well, we just saved you some money on the waterproofing, so now you have money to take care of the shutters.
Take
So
care
if
of
the
the
quote is not present tonight, would there be,
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the quote has to reference what you're asking the money for. So if the quotes did not include the shutters, that's not really before them tonight, they're going by the quote to get their number that they're gonna recommend for. But again, if they saved you money and they're still okay with a higher quote, might have some available.
So
Yeah.
why don't we make that, yes. We'll
Kevin.
Okay, I had one question. I thought there was only a limited amount. So when I thought I heard like 2,300, so to me, if they spend more than that, thank you for doing that, but to me, 2,300 is nothing for a job this size. So to me, apples and oranges.
Well, it's two things. Right now, this is just a tax credit. So that's the 10% of the total cost of the project is quoted. The next section is facade improvement program, and that's where they can get that's where they'll get a little bit more money. But right now, or could get more money. So right now, this is just the 10% of the work that we can grant up to 10% for a tax credit.
So January, we can only approve what estimates we see how much 10% would be.
After I said it, you know, if you believe that the cost estimates are low, or you believe it might be a little bit more expensive, I don't think there's
So we
anything in the
could-
rules
we could
you
say-
can say,
We could say not to exceed 30,000,
yeah,
because I think the handwriting's gonna add.
yeah,
And whether they want, whether, it's needed or not, they have to prove it up at the end. As long as it doesn't exceed 30,000.
yeah, because the more I think about it, it has to happen in the front end, because if they can't then do the work and come back later and ask for money. So if you're gonna contemplate the shutters, maybe that's a good idea, so.
Also, actually, in the past, we did allow a contingency. And we haven't been putting contingencies in very often, and we could say we approve the amount requested plus a contingency to go no higher than 30,000. And that way, we're all feeling comfortable. And I think that's probably a good idea in this case when we're making the recommendations for so many changes.
Yeah, right.
So, all right, can I also suggest,
Yeah, I do need to go.
okay. All right, well, we still have a quorum,
You
so
do, yeah,
thank
sorry.
you so much. One of our commissioners is leaving. But not for long,
Thank you,
is it?
Tom.
I know, sorry. All right, so I think we'll take that route of approving the requested amount and a contingency up to 30,000, we'll consider that. All right, so do I hear a motion to that effect? We approve the amount for this first portion as requested, and then a contingency up to 30,000.
What she said.
Yeah, what,
As requested, meaning,
The 23,000 project they asked for and a contingency not to exceed 30.
and can you add some language about this property being eligible?
Oh,
And
it's
the work being
definitely eligible,
Okay.
no doubt.
I think that's the first motion you have to make, is determine that.
That's Melissa, write these motions
This
up for me.
actually is written, the second one is not, so if you wanna reference page 4.
H4. So Kevin, can you rescind that?
sure,
And I'll ask specifically page 4.
I recommend a motion to pay for the wording.
We gotta go back to eligibility.
Okay, then I make a motion, the property is eligible.
We have a second.
I second.
Grace seconds. All in favor of saying this property is eligible for this project, or for this fund?
Aye.
Yes, you're eligible. Absolutely. All right, go on to number 2.
Thank you.
I look for a motion saying that we accept the project quotes with our requirements and recommendations. And a contingency to allow it up to 30,000, but not to exceed. I'm looking for that motion.
So be it.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. Second? Second, thank you, Grace. Any questions or concerns with that? You feel comfortable and clear with that, Melissa?
Yes, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? So that motion also carries.
Thank you so much.
Right now, we will move on to section D.
Wait, I want to do some advice.
Oh, go ahead.
So, with these changes, removing the water repellent, softening up the mortar.
Right.
Hand grinding or trying to do the hand grading.
Right.
This project is very eligible under the state historic funding.
Oh, really?
Yes, and their form is slightly different and they have a little longer lead time than we do.
Okay,
And they probably won't go with the squishiness that we've gone with, but we're all family here. However, if you nail down a few of those things and get it off to the state, you can get as much as 20%.
so we can get whatever we are getting from you plus another 20.
From the state, and then they are the gatekeepers to federal funds for rehab, which is another 20%. So 40% of this project, if done right and threading the needle like we recommended just now,
Okay,
you could possibly get up to 50% cover.
okay.
And that is not double dipping with any facade money. I mean, I always wonder if somebody really smart couldn't get in here and start doing stuff and making money off of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we have to pay them.
Yeah.
Only negative, always a negative. You have to get pre-approval before you even do the work. So if there's a time frame,
I don't have
the
any
state
time frame.
or federal might not be in your time frame.
I see,
Yeah, the state frequently has a couple of month wait.
okay,
But the good thing is they're the same gatekeepers for the federal money as the state money.
I see,
They are the same people. They approve it, and if you ask for the federal money and you must be commercial, whatever they say is gonna be exactly the same as the feds.
okay,
And they trigger that request of the feds. And so the 2 months they need, it covers them and the feds. The trick is you have to ask. They won't be nice like us and
Yeah.
tell you. You have to ask. And secondly, feds do not do residential.
Okay.
So they only do commercial properties. That's not to say if you wanted to rent somebody upstairs, that's still commercial. You're making money off of them.
right,
So people get a little confused with the federal money, but it's only commercial.
okay,
And consider it something to do because you get through their slug of paperwork. And you get that money. It's a different kind of way of getting it.
sure, we'll definitely look into it.
Yeah. And I can help you. I've done it for my own home.
Oh, really?
I've gotten state money, not federal money, because it's my home,
Okay, wow,
right?
okay,
But it's a powerful tool.
sure,
And the best part is we all play in the same sandbox. So our rules and regulations are exactly the same as the state ones.
understood,
And if they tell you differently, I will be shocked and we will change. Because we don't want any delay. You know, we don't want people saying, oh, they told us we could do it, but you're saying we can't. You know, we don't want that. We want us all to be on the same level of recommendation.
okay, sounds good.
So we can help. All right, now we're ready to go on, Miss Melissa.
All right. So now we're talking about facade improvements and it's the same scope and project. So I will share that for facade improvement, we currently only have a remaining balance in the program funds of $11,295. I do have an application into the state and we're waiting eagerly to hear back from them. No clue when they're going to tell us. Typically it's in the late fall, winter timeframe. So perhaps with this, we'll consider the remaining funds and maybe have a contingent on if additional funds are allocated type of thing. So with this, we're reviewing the facade funds are essentially from the state for the public facing parts of the building. Traditionally, it's for Main Street facing. However, in the past, we've also done side, like alleyways, certain things where the pedestrians are traveling through that they're gonna see it. So we leave that up to you to decide what's the public facing, if the rear is considered public facing because there is access from their customers in the back parking lot. Just something to think about. And we are also reviewing based on the following criteria. The estimated increase in property values after the property is completed, the extent of historic preservation made to the building, the percentage of private invested versus public investment, and whether the project will be completed within a 6-month time frame, and if the applicant is a first-time grant applicant. The facade improvement awards are based on up to 50% of the program funds. I don't believe we have a minimum or a limit to that. That's one question I'm asking myself now. Like if it's up to 20,000 or something, I don't think we have that. Because we did a 26,000 one last. Sorry for my tangent. I'm hoping to have a recommendation for the project at 60 West Main Street.
So I'm speaking out ahead of the other commissioners to let them think. But frankly, I would be comfortable if this facade project matched the same scope, extent, and recommendations and requirements of the last project. I would feel comfortable with that fully.
Of the tax credit.
I don't think we change rules because we're changing funding sources.
Correct.
How about the other commissioners? How do they feel? Whoa.
Also, I need to share, the Maryland Historical Trust is the last entity to review. The process typically takes about a week to 2 weeks.
Okay.
And they really just say, will this project have a negative effect on the building or not? So if it has no effect, that's pretty much a green light.
So I think we already did their work for them. When are they gonna pay us officially for this commission? Because what we did is we did a pre-review for the state essentially.
And that's the purpose of these boards. It's a great job.
We just got a scope increase in our workload. How interesting. How interesting. Okay. All right, so for this particular portion of tonight's agenda, do you have recommendations already written up?
I don't.
All right, good. So then we'll be looking for a motion from our, oh wait. Have we missed anything? Do you want to say anything more to us?
No.
Essentially the same project, and which is great because we can tell you the same thing, you know, match the windows, match the mortar, that kind of stuff.
This could work very well. I'm doing math in my head. It could work very well. Okay, so
And this one also, I don't know, did you get a copy of this?
Yeah,
I gave it to him tonight.
Okay,
Real quick.
because again, you get a really nice look at the windows.
they even said in their proposal, the 8 double hungs, so that's 2 over 2.
So that means two pane at 2 sashes. Right, double hung at 2 sashes now.
Oh, shoot, not pains.
Not pane, sash.
Okay, got it. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to accept this request in accordance to the requirements and recommendations that we used for the last project, Melissa. Do I have a second? Or first, do I have a motion? I guess.
Sure, what you said. I moved what she said.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, recommendation.
Did you find the recommendation?
Oh, where did these?
Sorry, no, we can't do
So
this.
we're down here.
I
now,
agree.
There's no written up.
That's some.
I do have it written up, so reconsideration of the water repellent. This one. No grinding approach. Unless the mason has the historic background, recommends hand scraping
And breaking.
and raking. And raking, double O mortar. Requesting but not requiring 2 over 2 window style, 2 pane and 2 pane, and that's it.
So, who, Kathy moved that? Do we have a second? A second, Grace seconds it. All right, is there any further concerns?
Question. Why wouldn't we want to state we want 2 over 2 as opposed to make, we are recommending certain mortar if we have evidence of a picture from 50 years ago that there were 2 over 2, why wouldn't we want to continue that?
So, here's the thing, in historic preservation, that's basic common practice, is that you don't make requirements unless you have measured drawings. And although we have visuals and photographs, it's not detailed enough to make that requirement. And so that's why we're only recommending it, because you don't normally require a restoration without extensive documentation, and we don't have it other than that one photo.
Well, I kindly disagree with you. I was on the county one for Uniontown, and we would make a recommendation like that because we have proof of a picture. So to me, if we have a picture that is entered as evidence today, then I kind of feel we have the same obligation to ask for that.
We did, and we made the recommendation, we did not make it a requirement. And we actually sweet talked them into it. I think they kind of came in ready to do that anyway, but I think that would be average conservation practice, unless you have actually written measured drawings, you can't restore, you just rehab. All right, well, that's for another day to continue the discussion. We may need to do some more soul searching, but tonight we won't hold you up for that. Any other questions before we take a vote? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? One, okay. And any abstentions? No, because there's only 4 of us. All right, thank you very much. Seems your portion of tonight has gone with some changes. If you have any questions or concerns, give us a call.
Okay.
Everybody lives within 2 miles of you somewhere.
Okay.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Catherine.
And you're doing a great job with
We
the
have-
building.
they have the next one too.
They have the next one, oh my
Yeah,
We're really dragging it along. Don't leave.
I better check and see if he owns my house.
Yeah,
And you'll be getting this third building next month,
Potentially, if they
potentially,
come.
that's the hope, so yeah, so.
Well, he like this stuff, that's for sure. All right, let's take a quick look and we'll start with the usual. We'll ask Ms. Thorne if she will introduce the project.
Alright, okay, so we are talking about 62 to 64 West Main Street now for property rehabilitation tax credit. The owner and applicant is here tonight for the same type of project. He is requesting replacing 5 double hung windows and repointing of the entire front of the building. This one has a different car number, which I owe you,
No, I got it.
431.
431.
And this is the Andrew J. Malhorn Store and Residence. So again, there are new quotes for this building, slightly different scope, meaning, different number of windows and size of the building. However, it's the same companies providing quotes. And we're looking for a recommendation similar to the last and if this is an eligible property, and if the proposed work as outlined in attachment 1 qualifies as eligible work, that's the first request. And then determining the estimated project cost. The estimated project cost of $25,086 for the highest quotes, or $16,750.25 for the lowest quotes, or other amount as determined by the commission is accurate and acceptable, and to approve and grant the certificate of eligibility for a historic tax credit in the amount of 10% of the total final cost, or not greater than $2,508 as determined by the commission, consistent with section 143-5B, D, and E.
All right, so let us simply dispose of the question of whether or not this is an eligible property. That's easy. There's no point talking about anything else if it's not eligible. So I'm looking for a motion that determines that this property is eligible. We have a second? A second. All in favor of declaring this property eligible? All, okay, good, so we got number one done.
Great.
We're not gonna forget it. Okay, secondly, this is another bricks and mortar project, and I think pretty much everything I said before about the bricks is true with this one, only I see now they're recommending N type of mortar. And again, I would recommend double O unless there's a good,
Well, I think the two companies recommended different types,
yeah,
and neither of them were the one that you're recommending.
right. Where's the other recommendation? Glazed windows. Let's see where they say anything about the brick.
Yeah, chimney sweep doesn't, in this one actually, affect the order.
Yeah, you don't.
So I think the same restrictions and requirements and recommendations that we had with the last one, we would stick with for this one. How do you guys feel about that?
And they're essentially the same project.
Look at page 2 of 3, near the end of the packet. Second page, third page to the end.
Third page from the end, which is this one?
No. From the chimney to we page.
We don't even have that chimney sweep price. Oh, I got one more to go. I see, okay, yeah, go more than one.
It shows, it says, between the whole, the entire front of the building, and says grind through the grout.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying stick with the hand raking again. Make sure that if you do allow any kind of grinding, it's minimal and it's only Portland cement and it's somebody who really knows what they're doing and isn't cutting it close.
And it goes with, they call for a type mortgage.
Yes.
So we want
That's the type mortar again. It's, if everything looks like a nail, everything's a hammer that they recommend. Okay, and something I didn't go on with my brick grant is that you wanna check the binding or the way they finish that mortar. Look and see at the oldest part of your building, if it's just a flat finish. Or if it's a finish right up against the edge of the brick, or a curved finish, or sometimes there's a line through it. You know, each artisan historically had different ways of finishing that mortar. And you wanna make sure you try to match what was done originally.
How do we know what was done originally? Do we have any record of that?
If you don't have a record, you have to look in the building. See what's left. And I don't see a whole lot of buildings so completely ground out. They're talking about the entire face. That is really heavy handed. Usually you're just looking for damage and looking to fix it, not every square inch. Every square inch of the front will assure that you have the same color. And that's an argument to do. But it's a little bit like, oh, Kelly, you only wanna fix your problems, especially when you're wheeling around a grout saw. Like, just a slip can cause you problems over time. So you would suggest whatever company you get in, that they really are more surgical.
Right.
Unless it really bothers you intensively to sometimes have two colors of grout till one
Yeah, you don't want that.
to match, you know. Well, you'll have to live with that for a couple of years till it fades to match, you know? That's the nature of it, even if you've got exact coloring.
Right.
It's still gonna look different for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta get that city acid rain on there for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you willing to go with those changes that we made in your first
Yes, ma'am.
facade for your first building?
Yeah.
Good, so Melissa will rewrite all those recommendations. And it'll go right on the second building, proof toot sweet.
Okay.
Does that sound acceptable?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
That's what we'll recommend if I get a motion from our commission. Do I get a commission motion that we make recommendations and requirements similar to the next door building, Melissa? For this for this facade improvement project?
Sorry, can you say it again?
We get the same facade improvement recommendations and requirements to be put on this project as well.
Correct.
Same thing. So we're consistent, at least tonight. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So be it.
Kevin, do I have a second?
Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? None? No abstentions. So the motion carries as quickly as Melissa can. And gentlemen, again, there's nothing in here I see that would conflict with any state recommendations as long as you write it up the way we do. Take out the water ceiling, I bet those guys put in the water ceiling
did.
again. It's
Yes.
just, if you're asking their ceiling. And that gives them future work.
Yes, it is, does have to be reapplied, so you can't just do it once and assume it lasts forever.
Right.
Yeah, it's the
They
same.
guarantee this for 12 years,
12 years.
that's all.
Yeah, that's probably generous.
Okay, so if you have any questions or concerns tonight, feel free to ask.
You guys know Rob Miller?
Yes.
Very well.
Yeah.
Been to his house for music before. Yes, he's a good guy. All right, well, if there's nothing else, then we will thank you for your.
Oh, did you do section 2? Section 2.
Oh, goodness, okay.
I know, sorry, it's a lot of the same.
Yes, so again, we'll ask for a motion similar to the section 2 next door. That we approve their work for the facade portion of this request. We need a motion that matches the facade from next door. Again,
So be it.
do we have a second?
I'm only pausing because normally it's very concrete for facade on the amount of the award. We only have the 11,000 remaining
So we just say
for the remaining funds.
for the remaining funds, $11,000.
Can we contingent it on pending a new award to potentially revisit?
It's up to the city.
I think we can't really revisit, they need to start work, I think it should be whatever's remaining
Yeah.
and anything beyond that.
Similarly
will be-
available.
Will be allocated with, if additional funds are therefore provided. So that they can start their work.
Wow, that's great. You guys are very special.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to start under those conditions. Finances are a little unknown. All right,
If you can amend just to say to accept.
we accept that.
Okay.
Right?
Amen.
We did explain that to them, the limitation that that could be contingent upon that additional money, which we hope to get, we get about 50,000 every year, so the hope is we get at least that. We've asked for 100,000,
200.
so 200,000, so.
You don't get it if you don't ask.
Yeah.
And again, I believe with these changes, removing of the sealant and, trying to do as much hand raking as you can, I really believe that state will agree to our recommendations and requirements, and so will the feds. I think that 40% is very doable. It's just more people.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
We're all good? All right, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Know that we like to be a resource if you have any concerns. We're all within a mile.
Sure.
Only from me,
Okay.
but thank you for investing in town. I think that is great.
Thank you.
And
Thank
they're
you.
doing a great job.
Now, Tony, me, not the commission.
Thank you.
I agree. Definitely. Thank you. Hi, guys.
You're good.
Yeah, you can go and we don't consider it a.
Unless you just wanna hang out.
Yeah, no offense, really, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. So let's move on to old business. Before my phone dies. And the only old business we have listed is the Celebrating America Fall History Expo on Saturday. And I know Kathy and I said we would go and Melissa would take care of the stuff to go with us to the Fall History Expo. Does anyone else like to attend with us on the 5th of October? Kevin, can you come?
No,
No.
but thank you for thanking them.
It's only 3 hours, we can.
Two and me. Okay.
we're being rude over here. I have a huge tote on wheels with a carry thing in my van tonight.
Okay.
If there's room in the vehicle, I'll transport it. It also includes the board and the easel.
Great, I'll take it.
So do you take a look at it? We still have a couple days if there's something you want that we don't have included, but we have the bricks,
It's a bit of bricks.
a bin of bricks. Which I guess I should have brought in because I don't think we've seen them yet here. They're nice.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, great.
The little loaves of bread.
Yeah.
Do we know what time we have to be there to set up?
I think we can set up on Friday. But I will ask.
Okay.
I will ask. It would be great to set up on Friday because then we can just roll into being ready first thing Saturday morning.
All right, I'll just let you know what time to be there on Saturday.
Okay, we'll do.
I've not actually been in there, so.
I haven't either. Should be
I shouldn't
interesting.
say that, but I haven't been in the expiration time.
All right, anything else on old business as listed? If not, then we'll just quickly go over the commission's implementation plan. How's it going with the inventory project, Melissa? I'm getting worried.
Don't get worried. Everything is in motion, just slow. I did receive comments back. And I have yet to go through them, so maybe tonight I can shoot it off to you guys so you can take a peek.
Okay.
And then,
I'm just a little worried there is a time factor with that grant.
so they just gave it back to us, so.
Oh, okay.
So if they weren't waiting on us, we were waiting on them, and it just came in this week.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Well, then if we're not the issue, then they can't say no to us if we need an extension.
Right, so the ball is in our court now, but we just caught it.
We just got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
good. Thank you very, very much. I really look forward to doing this work and not wait. And if you need names of contractors again, we will try and be helpful.
Yeah.
All right. 250th. So we have gone into a brave new thing of having a 2-page agenda. And I'm gonna ask you to put these 250th topics on the agenda next time. Because I keep forgetting them and then writing them down on Post-it notes, and it will be helpful if we have these things actually written down. So one thing we've been doing over time is working on the road sign project. And Mark, do we know anything about getting those roads re-signed or additional signs for the historic district? What's going on?
No, I don't. We did talk to Public Works. I guess it still comes down to, I'm not quite sure what recommendation, that's the last thing I recall. Do you want to replace the signs with road names with one sign, or there was talk about providing an additional second sign above? They were not comfortable having 2 signs, potentially 2 different names, if it's a historic name versus the current name. So I think they were more amenable to just a sign, a street sign of a different color that's located within the historic district.
So on that portion of Main Street where the old town was, they would put like a blue sign up instead of a white sign or something.
Something, and I think that's what comes down to what color would we want to put down, brown, people use brown a lot, but we could use Westminster blue, that wouldn't be a bad idea, that would just for the historic district. Streets, signs within the historic district.
And then Main Street was named King Street, but if we put King Street up, the mailman's gonna get all confused.
Yeah.
People
As well as other people too.
using their GPS.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, that's a shame. They wouldn't let us put a little second sign up saying, you know, originally known as or something.
Could you put that in, the one sign?
No, they have to be, the fonts have to be certain sizes
Oh,
and stuff like
yeah.
that, so.
there was questions about that too, just standard practice as well.
Well, if we could just work on the street signs within the historic district to make them a different image, a different color, like brown. I think that would be really good, and I'll give up the dream of calling a portion of Main Street King Street, because I get it, normal
Yeah.
people can't navigate that. All right, that would be my request.
Okay,
How do you guys feel about
do we
that?
like the brown or do we like the blue?
The brown, I think it says history. It's what all the other
Standard
state and
brown.
National Park Service signs are brown.
I live in Tawnytown. You've seen the Tawnytown ones?
Mm-mm.
They are brown.
Yeah.
Not that we need to copy another neighbor. But I could just, where am I?
Where are you?
I'm at the Dunkin'. Alright, so these,
I want to be.
should have gone a little closer in. So these, pardon, yeah, okay, so they're green up at this extent. And when you we're getting close.
Get close to the action.
Right. Look at the banner, still like,
You have a slick computer that can move fast.
we're traveling at the speed of light. Sorry about that, I should have moved my guy a little bit closer.
She's gotta be.
Here we go, we're right at the Antrim here. So, state highway signs. Okay, so they have,
Oh.
You know, I think I have seen.
Here we go.
Look at them.
George.
Yes, so
Oh,
It's
that
almost
is
like a
very-
little pineapple or something in there.
That's very classy.
Very fancy.
We like that for the historic district.
So-
Classy.
So it could be a plain brown or something added.
Well, both, a little brown with something added. I love that. And what do you guys think?
I like it.
Very classy Tawny Town, very classy.
We'll work with Public Works if we get some type of quote. Sure they have booklets of different sign types as well that we can look at.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, great. Okay, and how about entrance signs to the historic district? Have you been thinking about that at all, Mark?
I have, I don't know if we took
We-
any.
We chatted about this at length, I brought
It's the
recommendation,
design.
it's the design.
Yeah, we just need to give them a design. We know what the size is, because there's a standard general size, and we've accepted that, it's design.
Do they have something we can pick from, or we have to come up with it like magically?
No, there's nothing they can, they're looking at us, they're saying, you tell us what you guys want,
Alright,
and we will figure it out from there. We talked about, Westminster Historic District and having more, maybe a rounded top, and we talked about having maybe
City Hall image,
and the clock tower in one image, City Hall, and we have maybe placing images on the sign too. Kind of throughout of different elements of downtown, or it's just one image, so I think it's trying to come up with a design, that's what they're looking for.
I have to admit, I forgot to look. Melissa was very kind to remind me, and I still forgot to look for the clock tower, and I know I have it. I have it in several places.
oh good, cause I'm
I know,
not finding the one that you're looking for.
I know I have it. It's of our clock tower. Mr. Camlin did draft it when we were fixing the clock tower once before. So, I will resurrect it.
Yeah, so
Ms. Thorne, you may have to annoy me more. She may have to text me more to see if I can get around to doing it, but yes, I think that would be great.
If it's,
What do you guys think?
So is the sign gonna say you are entering
Or welcome to?
welcome to, yeah, so something that marks your entrance into the city, into the historic district.
So there'll be two signs at one point.
I think we talked about maybe six
Six, okay.
primary locations of entering in.
On the state roads,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay.
As far as installation, that's not an issue, obviously, with Public Works, they're just looking for us now. And we, do we wanna ornamental post that might not be a case, that might be going up with other signage or near other signage, so. I think the first step is coming up with a sign, then we can pick the exact location and how we wanna put it up.
I started reaching out to a vendor and the quote seemed really high to me. So that kind of paused. Even for an aluminum single-sided painted sign, it was like $4,000. But this includes a fluted black post.
Fluted.
And installation, which is almost 2,000. So I'm not sure that's necessary if our public works could do it, but
That's 4,000 for all of them, right? But
One.
it's like two of them. Two?
two. Well, that's with a fluted post. And
Yeah, this
and
is
installation included, so we don't need installation.
The
We can-
aluminum
we can
sign's only
think
like
about those.
$240.
Wow, okay.
So that's a horse of a different color.
So let's try and work on that off table. I'll try and get the artwork to you. We'll make it something simple like welcome to the Westminster Historic District.
Can we go back a second to the three signs? If we do change them to brown, can the street department save the old ones for us? If we could then use them as prizes for like a hunt or
Yeah, I love that.
you're doing our week or month, we could use them as prizes.
Oh, I love it.
And that way, we get more use out of them.
There might be something about city property that would
Yeah,
let us
that's
do
what
that.
that's what I was gonna say, that might,
You can do
I
that.
think there's a process you have to do to eliminate or city property or pass it along. to the
Accession or
Yeah, so I'll look into that. I don't mind the idea, it's just, we need to
I
look into
love, I
it.
love the concept. Let's see if it's legal.
Well, it had to be legal. We already own it, always as a citizen. So it wasn't bought last year, it was bought maybe 50 years ago. But I understand.
I just think it's such a great idea.
So
Alright.
how many are we looking, just generally, is it the entire historic district or is it just the original?
I would love to do the entire historic district. But I would also love to hear if that's even sort of reasonable. If it's not even sort of reasonable, then we would go to lesser numbers and spread them out throughout the district, just have them at the entry points of the historic district.
Yeah, it might be something that happens over time too, maybe not in the immediate,
Different phases.
yeah.
And maybe just the major streets, like not worry about the ones on the alleys, but if you hit along Main Street and Green Street.
I mean, they all need to be replaced sooner or later, so it would just be one of those phased in things maybe.
That's a good idea.
All of them get vandalized and what have you over time, bent by trucks and things. Fantastic, okay. Any other, so we've got our entry signs, we'll work on off table, we have this road signs throughout the historic district. We'll look at what's feasible and reasonable.
They were doing the house signs,
We're doing the plaque signs.
plaques.
It will make you feel better to know that literally I went to Frederick on Monday to a 250th meeting. And I asked the state coordinator is there a plaque that says 250 that we could put our name underneath Westminster, Maryland? And just sort of like get something in bulk? And the answer was
No.
no. Nobody is creating this right now. If anyone needs a quick scheme, go get yourself a company that'll make America's 250 sign that allows people to put their little city underneath, and you could clean up. I just cannot believe it. One woman actually couldn't understand when I kept saying I needed plaques. It was like, what for? What for? And I go, for the houses. So, I'll report on that a little later, but there is no, and I thought there would be. So now we have to make up our own stinking one, which will make it a little more expensive.
Yeah. Well, this is what I kind of found. I like this one. And that's what I said, but somehow it didn't get.
And
But let me know what you think about that.
I like this one, but also I like if we could match it to the Welcome to Westminster Historic District.
I like that idea.
You know,
What do you mean match it?
like whatever font we use, you know, when we say Welcome to Westminster Historic District, font we use should match these little plaques. So we have like a branding that follows through what we do.
So what houses are these going on?
You gave us the list.
Oh, so these are the ones that, okay.
So,
And more, like Roops Mill and the house that Winchester had. We're willing, last meeting, we decided as a group, we're willing to do anything old enough, whether it's in the district or not.
So White's Level, Blonde Farm and Rochelle.
But with the, in winning the budget, I think is what I was saying. As far as I remember.
Yeah, but we had so few houses, it was much less than what we thought originally. So, but you gave us the list, so that's the list we're going with.
what about doing that plaque, if we wanted it to be in the corner, put a little seal of the city on it, or a part of it?
Well, we're gonna put something on there, the 250th logo.
Well, I meant, if we are doing something for history, why not include this?
City seal. I guess we just need to explore with a partner who's gonna help us design it
I'm just
and see
saying,
what the cost of something that complicated on a bronze plaque is gonna be.
yeah, can you do it? These
Can
are gonna
you
be
do it?
fairly small, so you can't put everything on them.
It's just gonna be a house plaque like
Yeah.
that, so we have to be
I
careful.
understand, but to me, you talked about putting Westminster under, why not Westminster Steel?
Well, if we're gonna talk about the logo next, we wanna have a branding so that it looks the same for everything we do, right? Same font, the same 9 yards, so that it looks like a 250th effort. You know, yes, Melissa?
So the solicitation, when we get to the point of actually asking permission, they're putting this on, like, it's gonna say, like, cause that building may or may not have been around for that period of time, or these are the oldest buildings, like, what's the pitch?
It's the oldest buildings that we
It's the
believe were.
oldest buildings, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one that I can document as actually being around during the American Revolution that is still here, so.
But technically,
That's an
they're
short list.
Revolutionary era
Yes,
homes.
well,
Well, that's my only question, cause some people will be like, well, ours wasn't here then, why would I put that on? Like, what's the buy-in for that?
that their homes represent the Revolutionary era breaking away from Britain, which went on through
Sure.
1812,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because the British didn't believe we really broke away. So it's a very long revolution, right?
right, okay.
And
I'm
we're
with it
willing,
now.
we're willing to accept that very long revolution.
So you get, so these houses, so it's a certain date, from this date going further back, it gets a plaque, so it's not like you can age into getting a plaque, it's gonna be these and these only. That, you know, my house, it isn't on, 20 years from now, I can't ask for a plaque, it's specifically, I think that's what we need to.
It's
Clarify.
limited time, 250.
Limited for
Okay.
for this age further back, and no, you can't age in, it's
Yeah, you
intended
cannot
for
age
this,
in.
it's intended for this purpose.
It's for the the Revolutionary War era,
Yeah, okay.
post-colonial era.
Yeah, this is just to help us as we talk to people and
Now, if people can prove their house was really there during the era, we should over order, because these aren't gonna be personalized to each house. We should over order like Bruce Mill and White's Level
West Level and Long Farm.
and Long Farm, they were all here and we will include them, but they're not in our historic district. They choose to be part of, they're in the city and we will celebrate them, but they just aren't in the historic district.
Those will be good prizes too if we have too many. Great.
Well, you don't want people putting them on my house.
I'll just keep on the inside as a token.
Or like a new house.
On their mantle to fool all the future historians. Oh, you're evil, Melissa, evil. Okay, houseplex, so you've got this is sort of the idea. We just need to find somebody who can create them customized. And I can't, at this point, I can't imagine we'll need more than 35 or 40 of them.
So Grace, you're working on that?
Well, I can maybe pass that along to Melissa, because now she's got to start.
I can
looking for
assist you.
vendors.
Let's do that.
All right, logo, I think the last meeting, we actually agreed to a logo, right? We've got our logo,
We haven't finalized it.
we haven't finalized it yet, it needs to have like the city name below. It's the only thing.
It needs the clock tower.
It needs the clock tower, shoot.
I'm the second person.
I'm the logo
Not today.
person. Oh, shoot.
That was what, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm happy to reach out too, but we might not need to. We might not need to reach out. You're just gonna look for it?
But you still may need to,
That's fine.
but I had forgotten there was a key to that, I kept thinking we're done with the logo part, but maybe we're not, okay, the logo, Chris, get the clock tower, okay. SAR, I just wanna report this, it's not our 250th effort, but it's part of the 250th effort for this, I think, for the city. So we submitted the request to the Sons of the American Revolution to get the Patriots Trail for burials. It was due the 23rd of September. We submitted it to the state level of the Sons of the American Revolution to get on the trail with a sign. And I'll have you know, we're first in the state.
They approved it.
Well, accepted it, which meant my paperwork was good.
Okay.
But now we still have to get the William G. Pomeroy Foundation to pay for it. And it's a very interesting process. Since we're the first, there was no process, so they made the form up just for us. So it's gonna be hard for them to say they didn't like our paperwork, because was nothing to compare it to. So now we wait for approval and for them to come up with a sign for us, and then we need to get it installed. But that's kind of exciting. All right, DAR. So this is the month I have to write 2 grants for the DAR. One for matching money that the DAR themselves, the Daughters of the American Revolution, have for $500. That should be fairly easy, it's more like a request. Then I'm gonna use this mini grant from the Heart of the Civil War Heritage area. And that paperwork is due at the end of the month. I've already discussed the Bell Grove sign for the DAR. And in concept, they like it. But they want us to kind of verbalize how we're gonna use it for tourism. And it's a sign, tourists look at signs, you know? To me, it was sort of self-evident, but when we write up our paperwork, we're gonna have to kind of push that this will be an added amenity for visitors. And maybe we have a ribbon cutting contest or something going on there. Or we give away street signs.
We talked about doing like a band concert and a ribbon cutting and make a big event out of it.
Why couldn't we take a picture of it, send to the tourist bureau to have a pamphlet for Westminster? That way we are pushing for tourism to go there.
Absolutely. It's just this money is tourism tied. And we have to make a pretty good case that it will help increase tourism.
I wonder if there's a way to get on a state register,
There is.
or a state,
There's a Maryland,
trail.
there's a Maryland Historic Markers listing. You can look it up. It says Maryland State Markers. And guess whose house is on it? My house, because my husband put a marker up on our house and somebody reported it to him, so it's a pretty easy thing. My house is got Maryland is on that thing, so people actually use it to go see stuff, you
Yeah.
can sort and see women's
Well,
voting
it
and
may
stuff.
be that once we've put up these markers on these other houses, we can develop a trail that will take you to the cemetery, to the Patriots' graves and the houses over here and Melrose Square, and it can all tie in to a new visitor amenity.
I have your attention, you hear everything. Downtown Sykesville Connection has a historic. Oh man, man, I find it. Where does it say? Sykesville Historic. It's story map.
Oh,
Here we go. So we're working with the communities and essentially putting our walking tour into digital format. So Sykesville's volunteered to help us input it in a story map.
so that's sort of what I was
That's very
envisioning
cool.
with our historic implementation project,
But
same
I'm-
thing,
Exactly,
but that's cooler.
but I'm thinking the sign should be included in this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a way to writing the grant or talking to the DAR.
And you got the tree that was planted.
I don't know if we can hear them. So I won't play the whole thing, but somebody volunteered their time to do that, but they have a map, the idea is, it's a GIS located. So you can click on something and it'll show up, or as you scroll, it shows you where it is, it's very cool.
That's great. Well, we'll have all that data on every one of our 1,400 sites.
Yes. So that's where the link came in, they put it on digital format.
All right, so Melissa, this is for your to-do list. Now she hates me. I'm gonna need a letter saying the city approves its location, because it's on city property.
Okay.
And I'm gonna need two of them actually, one for the $500 grant and one for the mini grant.
When do you need that by?
Pretty, like mid-October,
Okay.
pretty quick. In a week or two, couple weeks.
What is this for, letter for?
For the mini grant and for the Daughters of the American Revolution grant.
For the marker at Belgrove Square.
For Belgrove Square.
Belgrove Square.
Belgrove Square. We need those two letters, one from the city, really essentially assuring to both funding sources that this is allowed. And then for the mini grant, I'll want it embellished to say how much you want it. How great it's gonna be and how many tourists you're gonna have, and it's a prominent city park, certainly we get a lot of visitors. So expect me to start knocking on your door for that.
Okay.
Okay. I was gonna ask Christine, how are we doing with the city landscaping project she was working on with other businesses?
So she was ready to go and I kind of put a pause on it because we are currently talking at the council level about trees and what goes in them.
Oh,
Or what's the material around them. And so I need to follow up myself on where that is.
It's a larger
That's what
issue,
you're-
it's not, it's the
Yeah.
maintenance of, it's in the right of way. The code requires the property owner is responsible for maintaining. So we're looking at the language of the city code as well as getting a better understanding of maintenance and locations and what functions the best and having more consistent tree pit type of element, so it's still being discussed, so we're working through it.
But that's really just one part of it, so we can revisit, I can talk to her about revisiting what else we can do, what can we work on now?
Right.
Because that sort of did pause for us as our subcommittee, if you will. So I'm thinking of like the pennant banners and the flags and really that push to like, are we planning ahead so that we have enough budget? Or can we talk to them about how they want the buildings designed? So that to me would be like the pop wow. I had a meeting with a company today for a historic banner program. So I gave information to our streets department. So there are other companies now picking up on the marketing part of this and working it from that angle. So we're talking about that.
Okay, good. Good, because I just, want this like every month on the agenda that we kind of just keep asking so that we start working our way towards the finish line. I have yet to do anything about a parade. I talked to Abby in passing, but I haven't really sat down with her. Also, we should put on our calendars proclamations since they're free and they're fun, and make sure that like in March, we get another proclamation for History Month, maybe mentioning our preparations for the 250th, making it a little different than last year's proclamation. We sort of slid into June with this last proclamation, and if we can get it done earlier, then it's something we can unveil for Preservation Month in May. As I briefly mentioned, I went to a workshop Monday. That was for this Frederick region. People from Montgomery County were there, as far out as Washington County, and some Baltimore City folks were there. And there was someone from Sykesville, and me, we were the only two Carroll County, and someone from the Historical Society, so there's 3 Carroll County representatives. And I did ask Melissa at the last minute to send you guys invites because they had open seats. But they will be doing this in 9 places across the state of Maryland. And the last ones will be put on a webinar, so you can catch up online if you're interested. But I will say, I know this is being recorded for the public, but I was slightly disappointed because it seemed so remedial. They were talking to folks as if no one's ever even thought of the 250th. And I was hoping to go have an exchange of ideas of what we're working on and hearing what other communities were working on, so I could hear about, oh, that's a great idea and it's something we could possibly do. This is something that's within our grasp. With a very small committee like we have, there's gotta be realistic, And it was almost as if the assumption was we hadn't thought about anything. Talking to us about telling the story, not using the term narrative, because apparently narrative is a loaded term these days, so you can't use that. Who you're talking to make sure you're getting all the stories you can get. Approaching events in your life that had a real meaning in the last year. And it was really surprising. It was sort of like a group psychology assessment. And many of the people who said things that were most moving and eventful for them had to do with music, like concerts, which was interesting because I thought, yeah, those are kind of moving and wonderful if you go to a concert. But it was just sort of thinky-feely about how to set up memorable things. And it's something we should have talked about 2 years ago, right? Now I feel like we're in the last throes of only 1 or 2 more financial years left to be doing this stuff, and we really need plans rather than intentions. So there's a lot of setting intentions. Yeah. And it was a good reminder that you need to try and reach out to everybody and set intentions for everybody. But it was just a little cerebral for me and not really product oriented, So I don't know, I'm hoping you enjoy hearing that webinar, but I'm hoping they get more specific and really start trading ideas before it's too late to implement any of these ideas. There's also a book recently written, and I'll try and get a hold of it, and it talks about what was the result of the bicentennial. And the result of the bicentennial was really an awful lot of people like us here who were enthused by history and kind of brought into the history field. And a lot of folks looking back and saying we should have been more inclusive and raising more voices. And the result of the bicentennial was to say, hey, people are just not interested alone in troop movement, but really want to hear other stories and more stories rather than just, what boat came into the Chesapeake and, what caliber of fire was on, through the muskets or whatever. It was more like, we want to hear all the stories of the war, not just a few. So there really was an effect of the bicentennial. And they're hoping to have that same effect on the public. And Preservation Maryland, which is a statewide advocacy organization, has a seat at the table for the statewide organization for the 250th. And they're really hoping to tie long-term efforts of the 250th with long-term financial needs for support and maintenance of organizations. Like in Frederick, for example, the Hessian barracks had been preserved by the city, but they got new exhibits, they got new staffing, they envisioned themselves much bigger than they were before the bicentennial. But now they're at a point where they can barely sustain and all their exhibits are old.
Well, there was a huge number of museums, AAM, I think, can give you the numbers of how many museums and little historical societies started during the bicentennial and how many of them fail every year. And part of that is the generation that created them is aging out. They're not available, they're just, they're done, they're not gonna be able to do that when they're 90 years old. And so that's part of what everybody's looking at is sustainability. It sounds great that let's go, hey gang, let's go start a museum. Well, what happens in 10 years when you want to move to Florida? Who's gonna take your place?
And so ASLH is the one who wrote this bicentennial aftermath of what was the results of the bicentennial, a great civic pride, all kinds of involvement in history. But now the pitch is, okay, we have to step up and really make them more robust.
It'd be kind of fun to collect everybody's memories of the bicentennial.
Well, that's what they
What did you do? What do you remember?
They sort of did that on a macro level.
We could find a way to.
We could tag into that on a micro level, that'd be fun.
Yeah, is there some way on the city's website or something, put up something that, I don't know if the historic district has a page of its own, but what were your memories? I guess that might go through Celebrating America, what, have people be able to actually upload right there their memories of the bicentennial. They might have pictures of themselves when they were little kids in their tri-corner hats or whatever.
Well, Dave Zarellis, who is the DMO for Frederick, put his hand up, and he was a kid who grew up in Lexington, Massachusetts.
Oh.
And they did the bicentennial in a big way. And I think every kid had a tri-part hat, and they were definitely, kind of one of the epicenters of the revolution, and they knew it. They really worked it for a whole year. That makes me smile.
I had one. Fort Stanwix, see, that's when Fort Stanwix opened. My hometown has a Revolutionary War fort right in the middle of downtown. And it was reconstructed and opened for the bicentennial. So for a decade, we watched downtown be demolished and the fort go up as they did the archaeology and stuff, so.
And that was a massive effort to take down buildings to uncover a fort, a massive effort. I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan during the bicentennial, I was there. And what they did was very controversial. Alexander Calder.
Oh, yeah.
Calder was a modern artist.
Noted for mobiles.
Mobiles, but also he would do these moving, big, huge metal installations. And he put one in downtown Grand Rapids that was supposed to be the movement of the water. And it was painted red. It was huge, it was like 4 or 5 stories tall. And incredibly expensive, because he was at the height of his popularity. So he was commanding a huge amount of money. And that was what Grand Rapids did to celebrate bicentennial, is put in this huge modern art installation, which caused a lot of people to say, ugh, we don't like modern art. But they created this massive festival around it that happens every year to this day. And to this day, people have aged out who were crabby, and most everybody in Grand Rapids loves it. It is still an iconic spot in the city. That they take pictures for all the tourists, you know? And when they have, like, their biggest festival is that one right around the Calder. And it's sort of like, you know, when you're in the Midwest, you feel a little bit like a bumpkin, because you don't have the Smithsonian, you don't have all the Eastern amenities, but we had the Calder, you know, so. Anyway, that was a living legacy, even though it wasn't historic. That's cool. Alrighty, so that's all I have on my list. So, does anyone have anything else for the 250th while we're talking about it?
Just to remind us, the Liberty Tree is still growing, thankfully, our sapling. And I'm pausing on the plaque because we want the logo to be on there, but it's still on our radar. And the other Liberty Tree that the city had gotten was originally going to the Historical Society, and they decided that they don't have room for it.
I bet they didn't.
So I think the plan is to put it at Union Mills. So I'm still trying to figure out if that's gonna happen.
We don't have any place else in the city to put one?
We do,
Like
but
right here? Oh, no, that is.
What about the Westminster Cemetery?
there's a
Oh,
lot
we
of
don't have
places
room.
I'm sure I can suggest, but I'm not sure.
How about out at the farm?
Open it up to the public so they can visit it.
I'll explore the Westminster Cemetery, but.
About the farm museum,
I'm just saying, yeah,
that's close within the city of Westminster.
Do you wanna make these suggestions
To whom? I'm happy to.
to
If I could talk to Shane.
Jason?
Oh, Jason. Like he has to give up the tree, did he?
Well, I'm just saying, he's the one we gave to, so,
And he's giving it back?
no,
No?
I'm saying it's going probably to the Union Mills. Like, they've already made the decision, they're not talking about it.
Oh, well, if the decision's made, then we're done. I'm not gonna step in on that. They've already made a promise.
As of last week, it hadn't been planted yet,
Yeah, no.
so
I'm
there's
not-
always time. But I believe that's the decision.
Okay, that's a shame. They should have coordinated with us and asked. It's our tree.
They gave our tree to Union Mills?
We purchased 2 trees and gave one to them.
The
It was a
Historic
gift to
Society,
the Historical Society,
with the hope they were planted
In
in
their
the
yard.
city,
which is what they had wanted.
but now they're saying they don't. Well,
To me, Union Mills is one of our attractions to the city, even though it's not in the city.
Not really.
Not really.
But it's
It's
something.
nowhere near the city.
I would think the farm.
And they don't have any.
Which farm is that?
Coming from the north, you come through the city to get to it,
You're not
usually.
gonna see a tree.
I'm not seeing it.
No, they should have sent it back to us. So
we
we
can
could.
give Jason a call and maybe suggest
If they decide they don't want
places
it,
that
go back.
should be located within
In
Within
Westminster.
the city, yeah.
Westminster, yeah.
We should have sister trees somewhere. Somewhere in the city, at least the farm museum's in the city. Part of it anyway. I guess it all is.
The other thing I
It's
wanted,
just outside, but that's.
Yes, yes.
the other
Jason.
thing. Sorry, did I cut you off?
That's right.
I just wanted to share, there's another forum open to the public on December 4th. It is in person at the library in Westminster at 2 p.m. Carol Voices Community Forum.
I remember hearing about that. Okay. All right, well, let's move on then to the Historic District Commission's public comments. And we'll start with Kevin. Do you have any public comments for this one?
Thank you.
Any commissioner comments? How about you, Ms. Kathy? No. Other than going to that webinar and ignoring Melissa, I don't have any other comments for the month. How about Grace,
I have no comments.
Mr. Depot?
I should have mentioned this in 250, so Belgrove Square, I did talk to Public Works and great guys as always, they just, again, same comment. Tell us where you want it to go and how you want it to go up, and we'll take care of it. So that's not gonna be a problem for us to install it, so obviously that's big cost savings as well.
Oh, I need a slightly inflated estimate, Melissa, of what it's gonna take to install it, because I can use it as a match.
You will use what we believe installation should be. Well, we have the cost of the one installation of the signs, a post and sign, so I think we have a good estimate of what.
I would
Should be.
love that, because I can use it in my, as a match.
Okay,
And also I can use city time that you put into it, Melissa, and tack on a 10% admin. And I'm working at, trying to whittle down the match size.
Did you say, that's for the letter? Okay.
Yes, from the city pledging. They want to do it so bad, they're willing to put the sign in for us, and that's gonna cost. And you must have some understanding of what your loaded costs are for that kind of activity. Loaded, like, overhead the whole 9 yards.
okay. There's cost to employ, yeah, we'll figure something out.
When I worked for the city, it was 65% overhead loaded, on top of personnel costs. So I don't know what the city has as a loaded, amount, but it can be pricey. When I actually got permission when I worked for the city to work outside of the city if I tacked on 65%.
Yeah.
So I worked on the light rail, both in the city and out.
What was that?
Yeah.
Cost estimate for that. Bits of Seafood, ever changing ownership, I believe somebody else now owns it.
Oh, it's a good sales sign.
So, we're looking to purchase it,
A hot potato.
yeah, so we'll see where that goes, and then. It's not in downtown historic district, but the Roots Mill Historic District, the Meadow Branch Cemetery is getting a new entrance marker. That we just recently approved. It doesn't need it's a historic marker, so as long as it is that, it doesn't need a permit, which is nice. So they're gonna be moving forward with a new entrance sign and I think kind of like pillars.
I did not appreciate how big they are. It's the 15,000 burials there,
Really,
twice as big as the Westminster Cemetery. Huge.
no, we're not funding any of that, it's to make sure. But again, if you're out there and you see any work being done, that's what it is, it's a sign being installed, and
That looks good.
that's all I have.
We had questions about our facade grant program from a potential applicant. They'd already got their quotes together. But again, the funding's gone potentially. So they have an emergency with leaking water coming in and they would like to get the water done before winter. So I don't believe we do retroactive, but I paused because it was an emergency type of thing. We don't have the funds.
And we have been always averse to retroactive. The state won't do it retroactive, the feds won't do retroactive because frankly, you can't even check to see what they said is true. Even if they said they did everything historic, it's already under, shingles or something, you can't check the work. We can't do retroactive stuff.
So that was it.
Thoughts and prayers, that's all we can do. All right, well then, I suggest we move to adjourn, what do you guys say? So we're adjourned.